Time to fine tune our lineups. I got to make this fast because, hell, it's halftime of University of Texas. Y'all know where I graduated against Alabama. Missed the field goal leading into half, literally on the 2-yard line, but hook 'em horns. Hey, it's tied at half. That's all I can ask for. And before we dive into this, before we give you the last minute injury updates to make sure that your lineup's set, make sure you go down there, drop a like on the live stream. I'll be live tonight as well. So if you have any questions, save them for tonight. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you know when we go live. I'll also be live streaming tomorrow morning. I'll be live streaming every single day until the season ends. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button. And if you want to go check out any of these player props on Underdog, we made a player prop video earlier today. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. You can find the link in the live chat. You can find the link in the description of the video or the comment section. And when you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. And you can check out a million of these player props. But that should be it. Let's go through. Let's dive into what we have here with these injuries. Let me hide this from you. We'll pull up the first one with Irv Smith Jr. I mean, the report says Irv Smith Jr. is 100% healthy going up against the Packers. And I've been surprised to hear that in some of your casual redraft leagues, you actually have Irv Smith Jr. as a player that is available on the waiver wire. Someone that's available on waivers, please, if he is, go pick him up legitimately ASAP. This is a tight end that should be in a great spot, especially week 1. I think that you should be able to go through and play him, maybe with no Allen Lazard. We'll get to the Green Bay Packers in just a second. This team looks to run the ball a little bit more and slow down the pace of play, I apologize. But in general, I expect this to be a very high scoring contest. Kevin O'Connell may turn this to a much more pass happy offense in general. So I think you can go ahead. I think you can play Irv Smith Jr. week 1. But now let's go down to our next one. This is going to be Michael Gallup. I mean, this is what the expectation was. I just kind of want to talk about the next thing after this. Michael Gallup officially not playing week 1. And also, let's go through and look at this. You have Jalen Tolbert, possibly a healthy scratch. This is setting up a situation where CeeDee Lamb may be the wide receiver 1 this week, and Dalton Schultz could easily be a top 3 tight end. I don't know if we have any other takeaways. Maybe Tony Pollard is a running back that you expect to get used in the slot a little bit more, just given the fact that they have really no depth right now at the wide receiver position. And RIP to anybody drafting Jalen Tolbert this offseason before Garrett Wilson on Underdog. When y'all know we were live streaming those drafts every single night, we saw a lot of Jalen Tolbert over Garrett Wilson. Didn't like it then. And I feel like those people who drafted a 4-year South Alabama wide receiver over an elite level prospect probably going to be regretting it. Let's go down to our next spot. This is obviously not going to affect you for Sunday. Kyren Williams is not someone you're even rostering, but Kyren Williams, high ankle sprain. He looks like he's probably not going to make an impact whatsoever rest of the season. Maybe this makes you more excited about the starting running back in Los Angeles with Darrell Henderson. Maybe this gives the people like myself who were dumb enough to draft Cam Akers a small bit of hope. In reality, we don't have any hope with Akers at this point, or at least that's what I'm telling myself. I do want to point this out though, because Kyren Williams was a capable passing down running back. So maybe at this point, we're looking at Darrell Henderson in an even larger role, especially week 2 going up against the Atlanta Falcons. But it looks like Kenneth Walker is not going to be a running back that is going to play on Monday night. If he's not playing on Monday night, I think that we go through, you jam in Rashad Penny. No idea when Ken Walker is going to be back. I think Penny has a very hot start to the year with Rashad Penny, not worried about the talent. I mean, I think that he is 100% going to be productive in any game that he plays. What I'm worried about with Rashad Penny is going to be the usage in the receiving game. And more importantly, Kenneth Walker's role at the end of the year in the injury history that we have with Rashad Penny. So I think you play Rashad Penny early on, maybe ride him through the first few weeks, and then look to sell him, especially after a Monday night performance against the Denver Broncos, where everybody's going to be watching it, and he probably could have a very hot start. And now it looks like George Kittle, if you read the report, yes, he's questionable, but George Kittle's not playing. I think that we need to go through lower our expectations for Trey Lance. Y'all know I am a massive Trey Lance fanboy. I want to be rooting for our guy with Lance, but also at the same time, I want to make the argument that George Kittle is maybe the most important player for this San Francisco 49ers offense and what he can do with improving the run blocking efficiency overall, as well as leading the NFL in yards per route run over the past 3 years. So no Kittle. Move Lance down a little bit with your expectations week 1, especially in a low-scoring contest against the Chicago Bears, but bump up both Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. Especially Ayuk, I think is significantly more appealing now. And now Zach Ertz is going to be questionable against the Chiefs. So it looks like Zach Ertz didn't practice all week until Friday. He got a limited practice in. So I think we're just going to have to kind of sit on our hands. The thing is with Zach Ertz, it would be a pretty nice matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs where we know there will be a lot of points scored. And right after this, we have no Rondale Moore. He's going to be officially out week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs. So all of a sudden, Hollywood Brown is looking very appealing. While I really like Kyler Murray and how many points this overall game should have, I think maybe we bump down Kyler just a bit as well if we don't have DeAndre Hopkins, if we don't have Rondale Moore, and possibly no Zach Ertz or a limited Zach Ertz. Let's go over to our next report. Obviously, you're not rostering Ty Montgomery. Ty Montgomery's never going to be someone that you play, but I do want to look to see if he's going to be active week 1. Because if he's active week 1, even if he only plays like 10% of the snaps, if he's out there being a poor man's James White, that is still going to soak up enough touches where I think that we need to be avoiding both Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. Maybe Ramondre Stevenson has the upside later on in the year to be that passing down running back that we're looking for New England, to be a little bit of everything in an offense that has an elite offensive line, that wants to run the ball over and over again. But as of now, I probably look to go ahead and avoid starting any New England Patriot running back if Ty Montgomery plays. If Montgomery misses, maybe you're more excited about Ramondre. But Jalen Waddle in that same game, looking like he's off the injury report. We're not having to worry about the quad anymore. And we bet an over on Jalen Waddle for his player prop earlier today on Underdog. Y'all know I'm a massive fan of Waddle, a wide receiver that had, in my opinion, an elite profile coming in, dominates his rookie season, gets overshadowed just because he's in the same draft class as Jamar Chase. That's not his fault. Love me some Jalen Waddle here. Fire him up against the Patriots, even if it's a tough matchup. Now, Michael Thomas, officially questionable. I know officially questionable. What the hell does that mean? But here we're looking at this as a wide receiver that I don't want to start week 1. Limited all week. I love the upside for Michael Thomas later on in the year. I have Michael Thomas on so many fantasy football teams. Earlier this offseason on Underdog, he had an ADP of the wide receiver 40. And at that time, he was my most drafted player for the upside we could have at the end of the year. But since we haven't seen him be productive since 2019, and on top of this, he's been limited in practice all week, not necessarily looking to play Michael Thomas week 1. I think you could try to find a better option. And speaking of a guy that I do not want to play week 1, but I'm going to be tracking for that long-term upside, Chris Godwin here. I've been with Chris Godwin. If he is a game time decision, you cannot plan on playing him. Please. I've drafted Godwin everywhere. Very similar to Michael Thomas. We were taking the discount earlier this offseason when everybody was scared. But at the same time with Chris Godwin, he's been practicing with the non-contact jersey. This is a wide receiver that's playing in a game that's not Sunday morning. If I remember correctly, I believe this is going to be the Sunday night game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Even if it's a great matchup against Dallas, at the end of the day, we don't know if you're going to actually have him. And if he does play, looks like Russell Gage is going to be good to go. So he's going to be a wide receiver that's 7-8 months removed from a torn ACL. That's going to be having to go up against Russell Gage, Julio Jones, Mike Evans. So please don't plan on playing Chris Godwin. Honestly, I don't know what to expect with Julio. I don't know what to expect with Gage either. Really, the only wide receiver that I'd be looking to play for Tampa week 1 is going to be Mike Evans. Now, if Sunday morning we actually get an official report, or tonight we get an official report saying, you know what, Chris Godwin, he's out on Sunday, then all of a sudden, obviously, Julio Jones does become a lot more appealing. But the issue is, since this is the Sunday night game, I don't know if we can rely on starting Julio Jones, and then all of a sudden, Chris Godwin's actually active, and Julio's a bad play. But going over to Going over to Green Bay here, we are going to have Robert Tonyan, a tight end that I absolutely hated last year. I mean, very similar to how I was not telling people to draft Dawson Knox this season. A tight end in an elite level offense coming off a season where he saw the spike in touchdowns, but the underlying metrics with his target share, his yards per route run, they weren't impressive. So with Robert Tonyan, last year, he was overvalued, but at this point, Robert Tonyan is someone that's available on waiver wires in casual redraft leagues, and I'm buying in because this is a tight end that's still in that elite level offense. You have no Devontae Adams here. While I like the upside of some of these rookies like Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs for later on in the year, I think they could possibly be the wide receiver one in Green Bay. At the same time, I think we do see an expanded target share for Robert Tonyan. Aaron Rodgers is still going to be a hyper-efficient quarterback. I don't necessarily want to play him week one, but the fact that he is not on the injury report is a fantastic feat for Robert Tonyan. And now someone that is not playing week one is going to be Allen Lazard. And now obviously this is a very tough situation to be in because you look at the Green Bay Packers and we're like, okay, well, should be a high scoring contest against Minnesota. They're not going to be able to just run the ball every single down. And on top of this, if they have no Allen Lazard, they have no Devontae Adams, there should be a productive wide receiver here. And maybe in a best ball format, yeah, you're on underdog, you're excited. You can go through and get Christian Watson, get Romeo Doubs, get Sammy Watkins, and expect one of these wide receivers to be productive. But the issue is, in your casual redraft league, can we predict who it's going to be? We've had a lot of questions saying, can I start Christian Watson week one? Christian Watson is the wide receiver I invested most into this offseason when we were getting him as the wide receiver 71 in underdog drafts. However, at the same time, if we are going to be looking at Sammy Watkins, Romeo Doubs, I don't know what to expect. I don't know who the wide receiver one here is in Green Bay. I don't think you start anybody. I think you start both running backs. You start Aaron Jones. You start A.J. Dillon. Maybe this team looks to run the ball a little bit more with no Lazard, but definitely an exciting spot. I want to have Romeo Doubs. I want to have Christian Watson on our benches in case they have that breakout week one, and then they cement themselves as a top option for Aaron Rodgers in this offense going forward. Now, our next player, I was trying to wait for this live stream until we had the official news on Drake London, but still looks like we don't know if he's going to be playing week one. I've said this so many times before, but while I love rostering these guys like Drake London, Christian Watson for their end of season upside, at the same time, we are not getting extra points for starting them the exact week that they break out. Like, I think that with any rookie, especially with Drake London, when we haven't seen him at practice, when he only played one preseason game because of the knee injury, I think that we're going to have to sit this one out regardless of if he plays or not. Really, the Atlanta Falcons situation's easy. You go through, you play Kyle Pitts, and then you avoid everything else. I don't think we need to talk anymore about that because we don't know if Drake London's officially going to be good to go tomorrow. I did go through and take an under on underdog fantasy with Marcus Mariota because I think it could be a tough spot. But now another wide receiver that I've drafted everywhere, Deontay Johnson, good to go. Looks like it's going to be a pain tolerance issue. Maybe we lower expectations ever so slightly for Deontay Johnson at the beginning portion of the year. In a full PPR format, though, coming off the season where he just dominated with like a 26% team target share, had over 10 targets a game with Ben Roethlisberger, and in my opinion, I think we possibly get a quarterback upgrade this season. Very excited about Deontay. I think we start him this week, but you have to have lowered expectations, obviously, given the shoulder injury. And now our next report, not an injury report, but we did rank Breece Hall. I think it's like the running back 27, running back 28 in our rankings this week. And now with Mike LaFleur coming out saying Michael Carter is the heartbeat of our offense, I don't think we can go through. I don't think we can start Breece Hall anymore. I mean, we were saying like to avoid him, maybe put him at the flex spot. I think that this is a lot of just noise. It's a lot of smoke, maybe misdirection. But at the same time, very similar to what we were talking about with those rookie wide receivers, very similar to what we were looking at with Drake London. You're not getting extra points for being a week early on Breece Hall and starting him right before the breakout. I don't really want to start anybody for the New York Jets, if I'm going to be honest with you, with Joe Flacco under center, even though I know in an extremely limited sample last year, Joe Flacco was better than Zach Wilson. But I think we went through all the injuries here. Of course, thank y'all so much for being a part of the vlog, checking out the video. I am not answering any start-sit questions right now, but I promise you, Tonight, I'm going to go live probably for like 4, maybe even 5 hours, answer as many of those start-sit questions as I possibly can. So if you have not done so already, go down there, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you know when we're live. We're going to be live tonight and tomorrow morning answering questions and every single day until the season ends. Thank you guys. I truly do appreciate you. Drop a like on the video if you haven't already. And if you want to go check out any of these player props, of course, you can find that link in the live chat. You can find it in the description of the video. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up. They'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. You'll get our 2022 fantasy football rankings, our 2022 fantasy football draft guide with promo code FLOCK. But thank you again, guys. I got to turn this off. I'm sure that Texas is about to take the field. Hook 'em horns. Let's go. Okay. Please, can I get a hook 'em from everybody in the live chat right now? I think we are 10-10, literally. We are on the 2, and our kicker just missed the field goal. We are on the 2-yard line. We are about to be leading over Alabama going into half. We got it in the second half. But thank you, guys. I appreciate you. And